Alright, chapter 71, The Mares of Glaucus. Glaucus, son of Sisyphus and Merope, and father of Bellerophon, lived at Potanae near Thebes, where, scorning the power of Aphrodite, he refused to let his mares breed. He hoped by this means to make them more spirited than other contestants in the chariot races, which were his chief interest. But Aphrodite was vexed and complained to Zeus that he had gone so far as to feed the mares on human flesh. When Zeus permitted her to take what action she pleased against Glaucus, she led the mares out by night to drink from a well sacred to herself and graze on an herb called hippomanes, which grew at its lip. This she did just before Jason celebrated the funeral games of Peleus on the seashore at Iolcus, I guess. And no sooner had Glaucus yoked the mares to his chariot pole than they bolted, overthrew the chariot, dragged him along the ground, and tangled in the reins for the whole length of the stadium, and then ate him alive. But some say that this took place at Potanae, not Iolcus, and others that Glaucus leaped into the sea in grief for Melicertes, son of Athamas, or that Glaucus was the name given to Melicertes after his death. All right, good. B. Glaucus's ghost, called the Taraxippus, or horse scarer, still haunts the Isthmus of Corinth, where his father Sisyphus first taught him the chariot's art and delights in scaring the horses at the Isthmian games, thus causing many deaths. Another horse scarer is the ghost of Myrtilus, whom Pelops killed. He haunts the stadium at Olympia, where the charioteers offer him sacrifices in hope of avoiding destruction. Footers. 1. The myths of Lycurgus and Diomedes suggest that the pre-Hellenic sacred king was torn into pieces at the close of his reign by women disguised as mares. In Hellenic times, this ritual was altered to death by being dragged at the tail of a four-horse chariot, as in the myths of Hippolytus. Oenomaus, Abderus, Hector, and others okay, let me try that again. Where was I? In Hellenic times, this ritual was altered to death by being dragged at the tail of a four-horse chariot, as in the myths of Hippolytus, Laius, Oenomaus, Abderus, Hector, and others. At the Babylonian New Year's festivities, when the sun god Marduk, incarnating the king, was believed to be in hell fighting the sea monster Tiamat, a chariot drawn by four masterless horses was let loose in the streets to symbolize the chaotic state of the world during the demise of the crown, presumably with a puppet charioteer entangled in the reins. If the Babylonian ritual was of common origin with the Greek, a boy Interrex will have succeeded to the king's throne in bed during his demise of a single day, and at dawn next morning be dragged at the chariot's tail, as in the myths of Phaeton and Hippolytus. The king was then reinstalled on his throne. 2. The myth of Glaucus is unusual. He is not only involved in a chariot wreck, but eaten by the mares. That he despised Aphrodite and would not let his mares breed suggests a patriarchal attempt to suppress Theban erotic festivities in honor of the Potanae, powerful ones, namely the Moon Triad. 3. The Taraxippus seems to have been an archaic royal statue marking the first turn of the race course. Horses new to the stadium were distracted by it at the moment when their charioteer was trying to cut in and take the inner berth, but this was also the place where the chariot crash was staged for the old king, or his Interrex, by the removal of his linchpins. 4. Glaucus, gray-green, is likely to have been, in one sense, the Minoan representative who visited the Isthmus with the annual edicts, and in other Melicertes, Melkar, guardian of the city, a Phoenician title of the king of Corinth, who theoretically arrived every year newborn on dolphin back and was flung into the sea when his reign ended.